It's just different leagues.
All right, welcome back to the Raising the Trophy podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, and Juan is back today. He's here this time. So
Glad to be back.
Same song and dance this week. We're going to go over Week 5, Games of the Week, rankings. Before we start, though, 2 games just finished. One of them was on our Games of the Week list, so we're going to quickly talk about that. Florida State goes down to Virginia in double overtime. I didn't even put it on the Games of the Week. Virginia didn't even have them in my top 50. What do you think, Juan? I mean, that's I don't even know what to say.
That's why you play the game. You never know what's going to happen until you actually play it. A lot of teams you could think, oh, you should beat them on paper, but that was just a good game. I wasn't able to closely watch it as much as I would have liked, but last play of the game was during the interception with fans rushing the field. That's what everybody loves about college football. So
that was the fastest field rush I've ever seen. I mean, as soon as the ball hit the turf, they were at midfield. It was insane. I think Virginia football fans have needed something to cheer about, so congratulations to them. That kind of throws a wrench in rankings next week because I have no idea where to put Virginia, but we'll figure it out. Second, we actually waited to start. We're recording this very late, so we waited till the end of the TCU-Arizona State game, and Josh Hoover just threw an interception. So Arizona State loses to Mississippi State, then beats Baylor and Arizona State. Beats Baylor and TCU. That's 2 really good wins back to back. What do we think about Arizona State? Does that give is that more credit to Arizona State or more credit to Mississippi State?
I think we should be giving credit to all 3 teams involved in this. TCU is not a bad team. Arizona State's not a bad team, but Mississippi State comes in surprising us. We weren't expecting them to be decent this year, and they're playing decent. We've had some pretty trash Mississippi State teams the past few years, and now they come in looking decent. So I give credit to all 3 teams. I don't know how I would rank them going into this next week. We do have more games tomorrow. Well, today, you guys are going to be watching this today. So today's slate, we have a lot more games. So I'm going to watch the rest, but don't be surprised if I find somewhere to feature all 3 of those teams.
Mississippi State, if they go and beat Tennessee this week, I think the nation's going to need to have some conversations about Mississippi State. Because a 5-0 Mississippi State team with wins over Arizona State and Tennessee, that would be ridiculous. But this is one of the best slates of college football in one weekend that I've ever seen. So we're going to go ahead and get into these rankings because these are going to change drastically before next week.
You got barbecue back there? It's just different leagues.
All right, let's get right into this. We're going to start with my rankings as usual, and then we're going to transition into Juan's rankings. This time we're going to go 5 at a time. So we're going to start. I got Arizona State at 25. Obviously, they're going up. I don't know where I'm going to put them, but they will go up. USC at 24. I'm a little low on USC. Same with Michigan. I thought they both deserved to be ranked, but I didn't really know where to put them. South Florida, I've still got hanging around at 22. I think they deserve to be ranked. You could really swap USF, Michigan, and USC, and then Utah at 21. Utah, you could say that they should be unranked after the Texas Tech game, but they hung around for 3 quarters, and I think that Utah is a good team. I don't know if they're a Big 12 contender, but they definitely have a shot. Any objections to this, Juan?
Nah, not so far. I mean, it's a little different than my top 25, as you guys will see, but very good points. Nothing I can really disagree with.
All right, then we'll move on to the top 20 through 16. I've got Mississippi State at 20, TCU at 19. Obviously, they will fall out. I would have them out of the top 25 next week. Missouri at 18. Texas, still kind of a hot take having them at 17, but the win over Sam Houston State doesn't impress me. Great for Arch Manning to get back on track. And I kept Auburn at 16. Now, the AP poll had Auburn at 22, and then they lost and they fell out. The officiating in that game was awful. It was awful. And I didn't want to penalize Auburn too much, just how I didn't penalize Tennessee last week. I still had them at 10, even though they lost to Georgia, for completely different reasons. Tennessee was they just kind of blew it, missed a kick, should have won that game. Auburn game got taken away from them, so I only dropped them 3 spots. Next up, 15 through 11. Now, I made a lot of changes here because, one, two of these teams, they did their job. Penn State didn't play. Tennessee played, and they did their job against UAB. But I felt not so great about where I had them. So I dropped Tennessee to 13 from 10, and I dropped Penn State to 11 from 7. I think that Penn State needs to prove that they can win against a real team. They basically had 3 glorified bye weeks. Tennessee, I decided not to give them as much credit for the Georgia game as I did before. If Georgia goes out and beats Bama, then maybe I'll give Tennessee a little bit more credit for that game being as close as it was. But Tennessee can prove themselves against Mississippi State. Indiana, I didn't have them ranked last week. I pushed them all the way up to 12. I just swapped where they and Illinois were. I mean, you beat a good Illinois team 63-10. You deserve to be in the top 12. And then Texas Tech and Georgia Tech, I've had them up here pretty much the entire season, so no real changes there. I think that's okay. I mean, I know it was kind of hard to rank Indiana. What's your stance on Indiana after the Illinois game?
I feel like a lot of people looked at Indiana last year and what they brought to the table and thought maybe it was a one-hit wonder. And I think this one shows that we should tune in to Indiana. We should be looking and paying attention to their games, seeing what they do, and see if they'll be in the playoff picture.
Now, I will say, I will give you credit where credit is due. In our Week 3 rankings, you had Illinois in the bottom 5, and I thought you were crazy. They played like a 21-25 team this week. So all props to you because you nailed that prediction. I had them up in the top 10 in Week 3. Obviously, I dropped them to 12, but you nailed that prediction on the head. So I will give you credit where credit is due there. Let's go into the top 10.
Thank you.
Let's go into the top 10. Ole Miss is the top 10 team. And I hate to say it because obviously LSU and Ole Miss play this week, and that is my game of the week. Ole Miss, they came in with a backup quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss. He's outperformed Austin Simmons all season. I think he should be the starter from now on. But I had Tulane at number 25, and I had Tulane winning that game. And I can agree that I was wrong. They shut down Retzlaff. It was ridiculous. It was a shutdown. It was a beatdown. I fell asleep during the game. LSU at 9. I do think LSU beats Ole Miss, and that's why I have LSU above Ole Miss. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a grinded-out game. We'll get to score predictions in a little bit. But LSU's offense finally showed up. I did not realize that Nussmeier was hurt as bad as the media is saying that he was, and it's very clear that he's doing better now after his performance. I know we played Southeastern, but still good offensive performance. Nothing really much to say about A&M and Vandy. I just moved them up one spot because I moved Penn State down. And then Florida State. I don't really think that there's any reason to say, oh, Florida State was ranked too high. They had the win over Alabama. Alabama's my number 26. They're the first team out. So Florida State's obviously going to drop after the game against Virginia. But I don't think that Florida State is overrated. I think that they're a good team, and I think that this is a Game of the Year candidate, and it was just a classic college football upset. So, I mean, I know that our ranking on LSU definitely differs, but we're going to wait to get into that until we get into your rankings. What do you think of this 6 through 10? I know I've got 4 SEC teams so far up here. What are you thinking?
I mean, I like that you're high on Vandy. I personally don't have them that high. I'm high on them, but not that high. Well, but you guys will see that in a sec. And then, I mean, I don't agree with that LSU ranking, but other than that, though, I mean, I can't complain. But that LSU ranking, you got to talk about that one.
Yeah, for me, I do think LSU is a top 5 team in the country. I absolutely do. If I was going based off of preseason expectations, roster composition, and all of that, I would put LSU where the AP has them at 4. The problem is their resume, and it's not really their fault, but Clemson and Florida have completely imploded. And that has affected my view of LSU. That Clemson game where we only put up 17 points, that doesn't look as good now. Florida doesn't look as good now, especially with how Florida played against Miami. But I do think LSU is a top 5 team. They just don't have a top 5 resume. Top 5.
Okay.
I don't know how the 1 got over there, but we're just gonna leave it over there. It's doing its own thing. Georgia at 5, Oklahoma at 4, Oregon at 3, Ohio State at 2, and Miami at 1. I have Oklahoma at 4 solely because of what their resume says. If I'm going to rank Michigan and I'm going to have Auburn still ranked, to me, Oklahoma's resume trumps a lot of other teams. So I don't think Oklahoma's the number 4 team in the country, but they have a really good resume. The John Mateer injury, it hurts. It does. They've got to play Texas soon. I think Texas walks in and beats Oklahoma soundly. I mean, we saw what happened with Michael Hawkins last season. I don't think that changes. Georgia at 5, they're there. They're going to be top 5 until they lose. Oregon at 3, I think we can agree to disagree on Oregon. I think that I have them ranked a little too high, but they've looked very dominant in all of their games. And when it comes to Miami and Ohio State, I'm sure a lot of people go back and forth, but Miami has looked like the best team in the country.
Better resume.
100%. 100%. That's South Florida. Again, like, it comes down to the teams that we have ranked. I still have South Florida ranked, so Miami has a ranked win. That's how I view it. And Ohio State, yes, they beat Texas, but Miami has also looked way more dominant in all their games. That Ohio State-Texas game was a grudge match. It really could have gone either way. We will see Ohio State prove themselves this week at Washington. A lot of people are going to call that an upset game. I don't really see it.
You got barbecue back there? It's just different leagues.
I think Ohio State's going to handle business, but that's pretty much what I see. We're going to go ahead and get into Juan's rankings now. There are a lot of differences between our rankings this week, but not too many.
You got barbecue back there? It's just different leagues.
All right, so Juan, 25 through 21. Okay. Mississippi State, 25, BYU, 24, TCU, 23, Notre Dame, 22, and Missouri, 21. You want to go ahead and explain your thought process here a little bit before I ask some questions?
All right, so in your top 25, you had Arizona State at 25. I just flip-flopped those. Mississippi State obviously beat them. But I just want them to prove themselves a little bit more, which they have that test with Tennessee coming up this weekend. But they win that game, they will jump. But right now I got them sitting at 25. It's not that I don't think that they're better than the teams ahead of them, which is normally what my ranking system, you know. I like to judge if I think that team will beat that team. But Mississippi State could potentially beat these teams that are ranked ahead of them, but they also still have to prove themselves because Arizona State's not ranked on mine.
Yeah, I do like BYU at 24. I don't have them in my top 30, but it's obviously because I've noticed in our rankings, yours seem more like power ratings while I try to use a lot of resume. BYU definitely has a power rating of a top 25 team in the country. I don't disagree with that at all. TCU falls out. We've discussed them already. Notre Dame at 22. Wrong. Notre Dame at 22. Let's hear it.
Now, let me explain this. You explain how you felt on Notre Dame. Let me explain why I have them ranked. I have them ranked because I feel like they've played those 2 losses. No other team in college football started off their season with them. There's been some teams that played multiple good teams this season. I feel like Notre Dame tested themselves very early out the gate. And you can take those games and learn from them. They still have the opportunity to be in the playoffs. So, yeah, but they can win the rest. They could win out and have 2 losses and still be in the playoffs. And then learn from those losses in the beginning of the season. Because, I mean, typically as the season goes on, your team should progress. You shouldn't degress. You should progress. And, of course, injuries and stuff happens, but you don't play your best football in week 1. So.
That is true, yeah. And I like the fact, and I agree in case in point. If Notre Dame, they were a 4th and goal away from being top 10 right now against Texas A&M.
Also, that Texas A&M, I feel like that Texas A&M game, I feel like there were some missed calls that ended up getting Texas A&M in the position that they were in.
Yeah, I can see that.
I saw some misholding calls on that last drive or whatnot. There's a couple of things I could talk about, but really it's just that's my reasoning.
Yeah, and Missouri at 21. Missouri at 21, I can agree with that. I think we have them around the same spot. Okay, let's get into 20 through 16.
All right, I got USC coming in. But then we got Michigan. But then we have Alabama, and then you have Iowa State, and then you have Tennessee.
Now, the one thing that I would address is Alabama and Iowa State. Now, I have Alabama at 26 and Iowa State at 28. So I'm a little interested to hear the reasoning behind Alabama, especially after Wisconsin got pummeled by Maryland.
Uh, I guess you could point. I'm not even an Alabama fan, but you could kind of point this one at SEC bias. Uh, I mean, at the end of the day, no, they're not Nick Saban's Alabama team. We saw that last season, but they're Alabama still. You know, I don't look at Alabama on the schedule and be like, oh, they're trash, because that's not the case. You know, so I feel like they still, to my standards, they could still be in the top 25. Do I think they're in the top half of that? Hell no. But I think they could be in the top 25. I feel like they're still a top 25 program.
Yeah, and I can see it. Yeah, because I don't think there's 17 teams in the country that can beat Alabama right now. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I have Alabama beating Georgia, and we'll get into it. But the way that I see it is Alabama, they just don't have a good win right now. And now that Florida State lost, it doesn't help them either. Iowa State, the reason I dropped them, I had them at 24 last week, was solely because of the quality of opponents they played, mainly because of Kansas State. We've talked about Kansas State. Tennessee at 16, I can understand that. We'll get into 15 through 11. Honestly, it's hilarious. We have Texas Tech and Georgia Tech in the exact same spots, so we don't even need to talk about that. Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Indiana. I do think you're a little low on Vandy, but I think this is good. I don't really have anything to say.
I'm okay on the Vanderbilt statement being a little low on them. They're just another team I feel like still have to prove themselves. Of course, they had some nice wins last season. Diego Pavia returns this season. We know what he brings to the table for any team. He's had, I would say he has a good career. I wouldn't even just say his season at Vanderbilt. He's been a good quarterback, good career going on for himself. But I feel like I said, I feel like they still just need to prove themselves a little bit more to me. So that would be my reasoning behind that one, to be honest.
Absolutely, and remember, next week they walk into Tuscaloosa and have the chance to prove themselves, and then play LSU 2 weeks later. So they've got a gauntlet. Their next few games are number 17 Alabama, number 4 LSU, number 20 Missouri, number 10 Texas, and then Auburn. And then they play Tennessee in the last game of the year. So Vanderbilt has a lot of opportunities to prove themselves. I think a 2-3, even a 3-loss Vanderbilt, depending on who they beat, could be a playoff team. Ole Miss, Indiana, I've got no problems with that. We'll get into the top 10. Texas at 10 is my only gripe. I think Oregon, Oklahoma, they're in good spots. I know I have them higher, but I don't really disagree with that at all. Let's get into Texas. What is the factor that's keeping Texas in the top 10?
They only lost to Ohio State. I feel like I'll be contradicting myself if I don't have Texas high and have LSU high, because what has Gary Nussmeier did that Arch Manning hasn't done this season?
Yeah.
They both haven't been great. they both were supposed to be great. They both have great. So if I'm gonna have LSU ranked high, and a lot of people are looking at Texas quarterback play Arch Manning because he's a Manning. He's supposed to be the next coming or whatever, which I don't think is a fair analysis. At the end of the day, this is college football. At the end of the day, these are still teenagers. They still have to grow into their bodies. They're still developing as athletes. They're not to the NFL yet. So I still feel like Arch has enough time to prove himself. We're only going into week 5. Like I said, if I'm going to have LSU ranked high, I cannot have Texas ranked up there too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a great take. I definitely think I have Texas at 17 solely off of their resume. After the Ohio State game, they basically pulled the Penn State and had 3 bye weeks. So I'm interested in Texas. They've got a bunch of opportunities ahead of them to prove themselves. I'm most interested in the Vanderbilt game, but they also play Oklahoma. Should beat Oklahoma because of the Mateer injury. Georgia 5, Penn State 4, LSU 3, Ohio State 2, and Miami 1. Now, Penn State, I don't know about Penn State. Penn State has had 3 glorified bye weeks to start the season. LSU, we've already talked about. I think I can understand why you have them so high. I am a little bit curious on Penn State more so than LSU. What's keeping Penn State at 4?
Well, I mean, like we discussed earlier in the episode, my rankings aren't necessarily based off of resume. I do take resume into consideration, but it's more of a power ranking. I mean, right now, of course, they haven't played anybody, but it's not like I could be like, oh, they're trash because they don't play anybody good either, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of based off of, I can't drop them just off of them playing bad teams, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the players don't make the schedule; they just play whoever's next on the schedule.
Absolutely, and I do like LSU at 3. I do think LSU is one of the 3 best teams in the country, and they'll have a chance to prove it at Ole Miss this week. Again, if you want to look at it this way, you can say my rankings are the resume and Juan's are the power ratings. I think that's the best way to look at it. Obviously, I think there's a couple discretions between some teams. Like we had Illinois a few weeks ago. We've got Iowa State, Alabama, and Texas this week as the main culprits. But honestly, like I feel like when it comes down to it in the nitty gritty, when we pick teams, we typically are on the same side. And now it's time to prove that because we've got a bunch of really good games of the week this week. We're going to go ahead and get into the Raising the Trophy 7 games of the week. Now, I wish I could have made more. I think that this week, honestly, there were more than 7 games of the week. There's a few ranked versus ranked matchups like USC, Illinois that we left out because of how Illinois played against Indiana.
You got barbecue back there? It's just different leagues.
But we do have 7 games that I think justify their rankings. They're ranked in order of importance in our rankings. Alabama versus Georgia is down there at the bottom because I don't have Alabama ranked. Auburn versus A&M is up there because A&M is a top 10 team. But let's go ahead and get into game of the week. I put LSU versus Ole Miss above Oregon Penn State because of what happened last year. I know we were at that game, and I can just remember the comeback, the overtime throw to Lacey, and the field storm that we had against Ole Miss. And the way that this game is shaping up, it really could be game of the year. What are you thinking with LSU and Ole Miss?
I'm gonna take LSU. Give me the Bayou Bengals. I mean, not talking about 10 if we're speaking about LSU. Unless I obviously know we're not gonna win, I'm going to take LSU. But with this game, I feel like Blake Baker brings to the table. He's bringing in a different LSU defense. Not the same defense we had last year. The quarterback play from Ole Miss has been good so far, but I feel like you're going to run into the issue with he's also not as experienced as some of the quarterbacks we faced. And Blake Baker has 2 games worth of film on him. He likes to blitz a lot. So the things that worked last week against Tulane, we're not Tulane. You can't throw some passes that you throw against those other teams.
I think that's a great way
we have ball hawks and we have linebackers, and we're going to, the defense is what's going to win the game. If LSU defense plays tomorrow, plays great, they might be the point generator because I'm being honest, I'm still not too strong on this. I'm on the Nuss bus. I'm not off of it, but do I think he's winning Heisman? Hell no. But do I think he's a bad quarterback? No. Do I think he's a good quarterback? No. Right now he's mid to me.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Mid as an SEC quarterback as you can get, because an SEC quarterback should never be terrible. No matter what team you're playing for, you should never be terrible. But I mean, you have those quarterbacks that can take off, and I'm just waiting for Nuss's moment.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think, I think that this game actually comes down to Nuss while we're talking about Nuss. And it doesn't have to do with the fact that I think Ole Miss is going to light up LSU's defense. I've been very vocal that LSU has the best defense in the country, and they've proven that. They have had a few tune-up games. They've had a few marquee games that don't look as great, but they've only given up 10 points as the most they've given up all season. They had 5 interceptions against Florida.
May I add to that?
And the biggest thing here is Chambliss. I know Chambliss of Ole Miss, 2 national championships at Ferris State. That's nothing to scoff at. Division II versus the SEC are 2 different things. But I think the defense is going to do their job. I think this game comes down to Nuss. Because if the defense stays on the field for too long because the offense can't produce, it's going to get tired and Ole Miss will score. If the offense can stay on the field, they don't have to dominate time of possession, but they have to equalize it. If they can equalize time of possession, LSU can run away with this game. I have LSU 28-27. It's going to be a repeat of last year. It's going to be another thriller. Next up, Oregon versus Penn State. I've got Oregon. I don't think Penn State is benefiting from their 3 tune-up games. I just don't see them winning this game. I am curious about your opinion.
I'm going to take Oregon.
Yeah,
I'm going to take Oregon on that one because, I have Penn State high, but I don't know. I just see Oregon outplaying them.
I like Oregon. I think they've looked really, really dominant. I mean, obviously, you had the Oklahoma State game, but to be fair, the two of them really haven't played anybody. Oregon State's 0-4. I know they're playing Houston right now. I saw they were up for a little bit, so that would be a great marquee win for them as Houston's undefeated. But Oklahoma State just fired Gundy. They've had a bunch of tune-up games. I do think Oregon wins this game. Dante Moore has looked really impressive. It'll be really interesting to see. But the biggest thing is, if Penn State loses this game, this is the same cycle we've been repeating for the entire James Franklin era. And if Penn State loses this game, all of my faith in Penn State as a program is gone. They've had so many opportunities to prove themselves. They had Boise State in the first round last year, and then they proved themselves. They did. They proved themselves in the playoffs last year. But the problem is in the Big Ten, they can't get it done. And it's been proven that they can't get it done. So if they lose this game, I'm out on Penn State. I don't think they'll be a contender. I don't think they get in as a 2-loss team, as an SEC 3-loss team would. So this is Penn State's last chance to prove themselves to me. I'm looking at Auburn versus Texas A&M as that sneaky, grinded-out defensive game. I think that I have A&M 23-20. I am really high on Auburn. I know you have Auburn unranked, so I'm curious to see what you think this game's going to look like. But, I mean, these are two high...
Auburn.
You have Auburn, okay. But I was going to say, these are two high offensive-powered teams. And from what we've seen watching the SEC for so many years, when you have two very offensive teams in the SEC, it ends up turning into a slugfest defensive battle because that's just how it is. So...
yeah.
So I'm curious to see. I know you have Auburn. What are your thoughts on Auburn? Because I know you have them unranked.
I just think they're unranked as of now because they lost. They lost that Oklahoma game, but also they could have been on my list. Like, there's some teams that they could have replaced. I would say that they're on the outside sitting out right now. I would have them at 26, but I'm taking Auburn in this one. I think the offense is going to produce well. And honestly, I'm never sold on Texas A&M. Like, they had some good squads, some good players come in and out. But they haven't been anything crazy, you know?
Yeah, and we've already glossed over TCU versus Arizona State, and we both got it wrong. We both picked TCU. Obviously, that first week we had great picks. Last week I flopped. I went 3 for 7, so not a great start on TCU versus Arizona State. It was a good game, but TCU, I had high hopes for them, and they did not deliver. Tennessee versus Mississippi State, I think, could be the game of the week. I think that not enough people are eyeballing this game because the AP has Mississippi State unranked. I have Tennessee blowing Mississippi State out, though. I feel like it has the possibility of being a great game, but I think that 9 times out of 10, Tennessee dominates this game. I don't think Mississippi State's ready yet, but if they do and they come out and perform, there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on them. So I have Tennessee 31-10.
I'm going to have to agree with that statement. All right. I'm going to take Tennessee. I hope Mississippi State plays a great game. I hope they can stay in the game. I won't be mad if they pull off the win, but I'm going to take Tennessee.
Yeah, all right. Let's get into... This is the one where I know we're going to be divided. Alabama versus Georgia. Now, I've disrespected Alabama all season. I had them ranked at 25 last week. I have them unranked this week, but I think they're going to walk in and beat Georgia 35-21. My entire life, I have seen Alabama be dominant. And just because they have a new coach, I don't think they're going to lay down and die. They beat Georgia last year in a game of the year, and I just have this weird feeling with how amazing Ty Simpson's been playing that he's going to light it up, and Alabama's going to somehow shock the world and beat Georgia. And it's going to be treated as just another Alabama win, but it would really be a big win for Alabama's program if they beat Georgia because they are on the decline. So I'm going to stick with Alabama here. Maybe it's the trauma of Alabama beating LSU all these years, but I think Alabama's going to pull it out.
I'm taking Georgia. Sick 'em. I'm not too particularly sold on Alabama. I know earlier in the podcast I did say that they are Alabama, but I'm not sold on them. I'm not saying that this won't be a competitive game by no means, but I think that Georgia is still gonna come out. Like just as much as you said, this will be a good defining win for Alabama. Uh, a big win for the program in recent history. Well, let's say the recent 2 years, but I think Georgia beating Alabama will also be a great win because I can't tell you the last time I've seen them beat them. It's been they've had multiple chances to come, beat Alabama and they haven't yet. So
Yeah, and this is a big game I'm looking at because I do believe this is a must-win game for Alabama because of who they play next week. They play Vanderbilt. And as of right now, I'm looking at these two teams. I think Vanderbilt's going to beat Alabama, and I think they're going to beat them convincingly. So I think that if Alabama loses this game and then goes in and loses to Vanderbilt, there's no justification for a 3-loss Alabama to make the playoff, and we'll be looking at the same situation we saw last season. So I do think this is a must-win game for Alabama. You could say either this game or the Vanderbilt game are must-win games, but I think this is the must-win game. Kalen DeBoer, he's not on the hot seat, contrary to what people think. I know Alabama expects success, but you had the greatest coach of all time, and no matter who you got next, it was going to be a downgrade. So I would say this is a must-win game, but my heart is telling me Alabama, but the rest of my body is telling me Georgia. So we'll just have to see. And I threw Ohio State versus Washington as the 7th game. I know there were some other ranked versus ranked matchups, but I wanted to highlight Washington because Washington has had a sneaky good start to the season. They've got a really good backfield of Damon Williams Jr. and Jonah Coleman, who have been putting up video game numbers to start the season. But I don't think it's going to mean anything. I think Ohio State wins. I wanted to throw this in here solely to highlight Washington and see where your head was at on Washington, but I can't see them winning this game. I can see it be close, but I can't see them winning this game.
yeah, I'm gonna take Ohio. Ohio,
You got barbecue back there? It's just different leagues.
No, that's not much to say. Like you said, I believe Washington, they have the chance, but everybody has the chance. Like as we saw today, everybody has the chance to win the game. That's why you play it. Media opinions and all that stuff don't matter once the game starts. It's between those lines. So I'm gonna have to take Ohio State.
I do want to talk a little bit about Oklahoma State because I'm still in shock that they let Mike Gundy go midseason. I cannot believe that they let Mike Gundy, who has been with the program for so long, go in the middle of the season. I would have expected them to let him finish the season and then let him go. I wanted to know where your thoughts were on that because he was not doing what he needed to do. He wasn't. But I am still genuinely shocked that they fired him.
I mean, it's a shocker, but he hasn't been producing. They had Ollie Gordon last year, and he was supposed to be one of the best running backs, and I feel like they still didn't do anything last year. And then you come off of, last year was really his career's worst season, so you're coming off of that and what they've done so far. Can you blame them? People love loyalty and stuff, but it's 2025. And in sports, there's no loyalty. We're trying to win. And that's every office besides the Saints.
I think some people forget, just 4 years ago in 2021, Oklahoma State was about 2 inches away from a college football playoff berth in the Big 12 championship against Baylor. I wonder if Mike Gundy won that game, if things would have ended a little bit differently with the down seasons. But Oklahoma State, I've seen so many kids are decommitting from Oklahoma State. The program just seems like it's on the decline. And I pray for Oklahoma State fans because it just doesn't look like a pretty situation. That's going to be it for this episode. And as always, go Tigers. I've been your host, Tyler.
I'm your host, Juan.
And that's going to be it. So thank you guys for tuning in. Again, thank you guys so much for the support on the first 2 episodes. We're going to be doing this weekly. We want to start a second episode per week, but with school and other things, it's been kind of difficult. So again, thank you all, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
You got barbecue back there? It's just different leagues.